Hello and welcome from all of us here at Online Vents. We recently hosted a conference that was so profound, so moving, that we just had to share some of the core ideas with you. It grappled with this huge, strange paradox right at the heart of being human, that sometimes we have to face the idea of death to really figure out how to live. So let's dive into what that means. Dying to live and living to die. That was the title of our conference, and boy, it's more than just a clever phrase. For so many people, it's a deeply felt reality, and we saw this paradox show up in two really powerful ways. In the big social forces that shape all of our lives, and in the quietest, most private corners of our own minds. Let's start with that first one. So, to really get our heads around this paradox, we have to start with a tough and frankly disturbing idea. What it feels like to be dead while you are still very much alive. I mean, how is that even possible? Well, it can start when the world around you, the very system you live in, starts to erase you. And this is where one of our incredible presenters, Professor Patrick Vernon, grounded this huge existential question in a stark social reality. He asked us to think about not just physical death, but the crushing weight of what sociologists have called social death. So, what is social death? Well, the concept first came from the sociologist Orlando Patterson, who was studying enslavement. He used it to describe a state where a person's humanity is just systematically stripped away. Their ability to create, to define themselves, is denied by the powers that be. It is, essentially, being made dead while you're still breathing. And this is not some abstract historical idea. Professor Vernon showed how social death is a structural, very real, ongoing experience for many Black people in Britain right now. You can see it in things like the Windrush scandal, in the shocking disparities in maternal health care, or in the disproportionate use of mental health and police powers. You see, these aren't just isolated incidents. They're symptoms of a system that can literally erase a person's sense of self and belonging. I mean, just listen to this quote from a victim of the Windrush scandal. It's just devastating. It perfectly captures that personal toll of social death, that feeling of being erased, of having your identity and your right to even be here stripped away by the state. It's a kind of death that happens long before your heart stops beating. But what happens when that feeling of death comes not from society, but from within? Here, we pivot from the social to the deeply personal with our other amazing presenter, Professor Emmy van Derzen. She explored how confronting the will to die can, paradoxically, become the very catalyst for finding a more authentic way to live. Professor van Derzen framed this whole conversation with this absolutely crucial insight. She talked about a despair so deep that life itself, with all of its pain and its demands, actually becomes more terrifying than the finality of death. And that's an edge that many people, maybe even some of our clients, can find themselves on. And this right here, this is the heart of the paradox she uncovered from her own experience. After she confronted her own mortality head on, she found that the fear was gone. The very act of facing the worst thing imaginable gave her the courage to truly, fully live, maybe for the very first time. And this is such an important distinction. Professor van Derzen made it so clear that a desire to die is often not about ending life itself. It's about an overwhelming rejection of the current life, a life that has just become unbearable. And right there, in that rejection, a little door opens to the possibility of real transformation. Okay, so we've got these two profound perspectives, right? A kind of death imposed by society and a death that's contemplated from within. So where do you go from there? How do we move forward? What's amazing is that both of these paths, from our two speakers, pointed to the exact same powerful answer: agency, creativity, and the deliberate creation of joy. So let's go back to Professor Vernon's work. If social death is this huge structural force designed to crush the human spirit, how on earth can you respond? What's the antidote? His answer is an act of radical resistance, the creation of Black joy. He talked about using art, music, visionary ideas like Afrofuturism, not just to cope, but to actively imagine and build a future free from that oppression. It's literally about creating life in the face of death. And this powerful idea of creation, of building something new right from a place of pain, it connects so perfectly to Professor van Derzen's work on overcoming personal despair. The parallel here is just incredible, right? Whether you're facing the external force of social death or the internal crisis of personal despair, creativity is the bridge. It's the pathway from that inner pain out into a new reality, a way to build a life that actually feels worth living. For us as a community of therapists, counselors, and other helping professionals, getting to grips with these ideas is just so vital. They give us a deeper, richer language for the struggles our clients face, and let's be honest, for our own human experience too. Now, we've really only been able to scratch the surface here today. So if this has sparked your curiosity and you want to dive deeper into the full keynotes and discussions from this event, they are all available right now in our online events learning library. We are absolutely committed to making professional development accessible for everyone. That's why our entire Netflix for Therapists style library is available for just $9.99 a month. And that one price includes this entire conference, plus thousands of other hours of CPD content that's already in there. We would absolutely love for you to come and join our community of learners. So we'll leave you with this question to ponder. Having touched on these powerful ideas of social death, personal transformation, and the incredible redemptive power of creativity, how will these insights shape your practice and the conversations you have with your clients?